One of the most famous roads in all of the world is the road that connects Jerusalem to Jericho. It is a road in which armies and individuals, citizens and robbers have traveled for centuries. But it is not just the beginning and end of that road which are famous. The midpoint of that road is known as well, at least when you travel uphill. That midpoint is marked by an Israeli landmark and a museum today called the Inn of the Good Samaritan. The Inn of the Good Samaritan is the site of an ancient inn that stood between these two most famous cities. If you walk from Jerusalem down to Jericho, you may not even stop, because it is possible to walk down to Jericho in just one day. But if you go the other direction, if you go up through the Wadi Kelt, beginning more than 1,000 feet below sea level and ascending to 2,500 feet above sea level, 20 miles away, it takes 2 days. You need to stop somewhere, and the Inn of the Good Samaritan makes a natural overnight stopping point. You will find it right on Highway 1 on the way to or from the Dead Sea. But most people never stop today, whether they are going up or down. The automobile makes it possible to travel in either direction in just half an hour. But why is the Inn of the Good Samaritan really the site of that ancient inn? How do we know? Besides archaeological evidence, there is one reason that is so obvious when you think about it, but you won't find, or at least I couldn't find, any diagram on the internet that shows the reason why the Inn of the Good Samaritan is the perfect place to stop. So you'll have to put up with my hand drawing. Here's the answer. This is why the inn is the natural stopping point. The climb from Jericho to Jerusalem is not continuous. There is a peak on the way, halfway. This inn rests safely on a hill, safely away from where the robbers crouch in the valleys. And this inn gives every traveler a view towards that second half of the journey, that second climb that awaits the traveler in the morning. It has always been this way. That is why others have placed their guard stations here as well. It is the natural location of a Crusader fort, and it was also the site of a watchtower built by Herod the Great. Let's take a quick look at that. The stone structure across the highway up at the top of the hill is a guard tower built in the time of Herod the Great, by Herod the Great. He had multiple towers along the path from Jericho to Jerusalem as a way of enforcing and providing safety for the people. When I first visited this site, I wanted a closer photo, so I crossed over Highway 1, where you can get a better view of that watchtower. Here was the road up to the top, but alas, time didn't permit the detour for me. Perhaps it will for you. So now let's go into the Inn of the Good Samaritan. I'll admit the entrance is not particularly grand. In fact, the whole site is mostly overlooked by tourists who are hurrying down to the Dead Sea to visit Masada or back up to Jerusalem in time for dinner. So let Root Source Tours take you into this site. Here is the first stop inside. One of the most interesting aspects of this site is that it has become a safe place to preserve other interesting artifacts from around the Holy Land. We see here the site has been used to preserve an ancient synagogue mosaic floor. This amazing preservation is from a synagogue in Gaza, moved here for safety. The floor is quite big, and here is the layout and the floor's full design. Take a look at the detail in these photos. When we return, we will continue our tour at the Inn of the Good Samaritan. Until next time, this is Bob Odell from Root Source saying, Shalom.